Welcome to the Social Millennial Podcast. Gang, we out here. It's been a wild week. So much has gone on, as much goes on in a world full of, 8 billion people now. We're surviving COVID, phase 4, no indoor dining. I mean, the streets are getting pretty peaceful, aside from certain protests and so on, and, tensions getting higher because the president is starting to use federal forces on protesters in some of the more problem cities, for lack of a better term. Cuomo has gone on record saying that he's spoken to President Trump, and Cuomo's like, we're not going to let it get to that. We're not going to let the protests get too crazy. We're going to handle it ourselves. And it doesn't seem like protests are getting crazy here in NYC. So I don't see in the foreseeable future Homeland Security, etc., U.S. Marshals, etc., being sicked on protesters, on New Yorkers. I don't see that happening. I know some are scared. Some are trying to whip up certain kinds of political frenzy over that. I don't see it happening over here. Now, I know Trump administration is going to be under investigation for its use of federal forces against protesters at this point. I believe I read that. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. It is what it is. I mean, it's never a dull week with our current under our current presidential administration. So ripe with news. So much going on. Like I said, a world full of 8 billion people, 9 billion people, or what have you. Something's always going on. But I don't want to get into too much political talk. I know it's very easy, and it's a really, really big rabbit hole, really deep rabbit hole to fall down, you feel me? But we're going to talk about some sci-fi stuff. We're going to talk about a little bit of pop culture stuff. Nothing too long. I don't think it'll be too long this time for this podcast. But some rumor mill swirling about Lucasfilm at Disney. And right now, the prevailing rumors are that Kathleen Kennedy is out as head of Lucasfilm. For my Star Wars diehards, my Star Wars fans that are listening to this and have been tracking what's been going on with Lucasfilm and these three movies and this trilogy, and essentially the fiasco that was the current trilogy, the fiasco that was Lucasfilm under Kathleen Kennedy, and the infighting and just the issues and the problems that have been going on, aside from George Lucas really not liking Kathleen Kennedy. Aside from George Lucas, it was so sad. So watching him sign away the Star Wars IP to Disney, I think it was Bob Iger was there signing it, this huge fat contract. His face, his demeanor, he's getting all of the money. He got all the money. I'm sure he probably still has a cut of merchandising off the IP. But man, that was so sad. So sad. But yeah, aside from George Lucas not liking Kathleen Kennedy, or at least that's what the reports are, there was a lot of infighting going on within Lucasfilm. People they were getting like factionalized, where there were staffers that were on George Lucas's side, Lucas loyal, and staffers that were on Kathleen Kennedy's side. But at the end of the day, as it is in the entertainment industry, it's about the green. It's not about the gender. Oftentimes, it's not even about the race. It's about what shade of green are you? Are you bringing in the money? Are you building the intellectual property, the value of the IP? And quite frankly, under Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm has taken a nosedive into the ground. Kathleen Kennedy, seemingly under her leadership, has taken an IP that should have been printing money for Disney, a mint IP with all of the goodwill in the world, so much goodwill from its fans, even though certain things had already gone on to divide the fan base regarding the Tridge and the prequel trilogy. Despite that, the goodwill was there. We had our sort of apprehensions about Disney buying Lucasfilm, but the fan base seemed to be optimistic. And we really started losing faith long before they started making Star Wars films again. Long before Force Awakens came out, when they were talking about that they were getting rid of the extended universe. So, for those who don't know, there was the Ridge, right? So that's the original trilogy: Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, Star Wars: A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. That's the Ridge Tridge. For those who do not know, the Ridge Tridge. Now, before the prequels came out, which is episodes 1, 2, and 3, the story of Darth Vader, of Anakin Skywalker, and his fall, and the prophecy, etc., setting things into motion, there was so much goodwill built up from the Ridge Tridge after Return of the Jedi that there started to be official publications extending the stories, giving backstories, extra backstories to the characters, developing the characters more. There was fan fictions, extended universes, or extended universe books that were unofficial and created sort of this narrative as to what happens after Return of the Jedi. And it was dense. So before the prequels came out, there was already a dense body of work that fans and publishing companies and writers and so on went into just developing out these characters even further beyond the 3 films into the future of what their lives would hopefully become, or what they wanted it to become, what the fans wanted to see. The prequel trilogy happens, divides the entire fan base. You know, if everybody hates Jar Jar, episode 1 was a little funky. You know, it went off the rails. George Lucas kind of went off the rails a little bit with his use of CG and just wanting to try to be on the cutting edge, but he's not James Cameron. Avatar. He's not James Cameron. So, yeah, it just ended up not doing well. I remember watching the Ridge Tridge, and I remember watching the prequel trilogy that came out in Millennials time. Gang. I remember I had the video game, the movie tie-in game. I had that. It was fire. Pod racing was amazing. The prequel trilogy had all of the problems. But I digress. So when we get to our present day, all of this extended universe body of work exists, and one of the first things that Lucasfilm does, the newly minted Lucasfilm under Disney and under the leadership of Kathleen Kennedy, is to completely do away with the extended universe. Completely do away with it, and instead call it Legends. So it could still kind of exist, but it's not a real thing. And instead create a Star Wars canon. Like that continues. That Disney will create and produce. And this is the starting point of where the fan base starts to like, I don't know about all of this. Leadership is a little wild. Then when we start hearing about, The Force Awakens and what kind of production that was, and the short amount of time that J.J. Abrams put that film together and that script together, people loved The Force Awakens when it came out, and then once it started to become scrutinized, like when we saw it a second time, a third time, when you started to kind of look past the nostalgia highs, the little shots of nostalgia steroids that J.J. Abrams was trying to capitalize on to get you invested, it really didn't hold up. And then came the Last Jedi. Oh God, Rian Johnson. He is a very credible director, a decent writer, but The Last Jedi was not it. I don't think it was for him. I think he was the wrong choice as a director for any Star Wars movie. The wrong choice. There was no reverence for these characters, no reverence for the mythos, the ethos, the mythology, no respect to the fan base, nothing. Now, I understand what he was trying to do. I get it. 100% get it as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. 100% understand you want to do. Your take was trying to do a deconstruction of Star Wars, subverting our expectations, quote unquote. That's now the super spit take line sort of in pop culture, quote unquote, subverting our expectations. But it was that movie. I'm sorry, was trash. Rian Johnson, I'm sorry. I believe it to be trash, and a lot of the fan base believed it to be trash, but a lot of the critics didn't. So it was kind of sort of loved by the critics, and by and large hated by most Star Wars fans, by the fan base. And then comes The Rise of Skywalker, which, for as much as I don't like what J.J. Abrams necessarily did with the mythology in The Force Awakens, how he sort of just tried to make a movie that was just on speed, like we just took Star Wars branded speed and just went from one set piece to the next set piece to the next set piece, and we didn't breathe, and each little set piece had the nostalgia, it all had to hit and check the boxes to make sure that we're connecting to Star Wars A New Hope, because essentially it was a retread of episode 8, episode 4. Yes, episode 4. It was essentially a retread of episode 4, Star Wars A New Hope. As much as I understand what he did with that and what the goal was there, I do applaud him for trying to pick up the pieces of The Last Jedi. I get it. And nobody really wanted to, none of the directors kind of really wanted to say outright horrible things about The Last Jedi. And I think no director wants to talk smack about another director. I get it. But where J.J. Abrams in interviews would not necessarily talk smack about The Last Jedi and Rian Johnson's job, he definitely did it in the movie with all of the retread, all of the retcon to kind of like undo what Rian Johnson did in The Last Jedi. So all this craziness is going on. The Rise of Skywalker divides fans. The Last Jedi divides fans. Years after The Force Awakens happens and premieres, it's dividing fans. And as much as I want to blame J.J. Abrams for his style of filmmaking, or Rian Johnson for his style of filmmaking, I cannot do so. So I know I'm saying these little gripes here and there on the side. I can't really blame them. Who is to blame is Kathleen Kennedy. Because when we found out that she had no large trilogy arc developed for these 3 films, oh my gosh. No wonder why everything was disjointed. No wonder why J.J. Abrams is relying on nostalgia bait to get us invested in these films. If we kill all of the extended universe, if we lean heavily on the Mary Sue-ness of a female character, if we decide that we want our trilogy to be directed by different people doing different takes on this, or I should say doing different takes, continuing the storyline of a previous director without any overarching plot structure for this whole trilogy, it makes sense why every single film ended up becoming so divisive. It made sense why characterizations of old characters seem to be 100% off. Like interpretations of these characters, it's as if Han Solo that we see in The Force Awakens is not the same guy as the Han Solo we see in Return of the Jedi. And now that's aside from him being older. I mean, the core value, the core feel, the mouthfeel, for lack of a better term, of Han Solo was wrong in The Force Awakens. Then the mouthfeel of Luke Skywalker was wrong in The Last Jedi. And then we get to The Rise of Skywalker and everything is just wrong about it. Everything feels dirty. They brought back Palpatine. You know, this dude, J.J. Abrams, had to salvage what he could. And I feel like it should have been divided into 2 extra movies, but then the higher ups, I don't know if it was Iger, I don't know if it was other higher ups at Disney, the execs that just wanted one more film so that they could just be done with it. But they were set on one more film, like on just one, not having a double film as the end of the trilogy, to sort of have a buffer between The Last Jedi and the final film. They were set on, this is the final, the bookend to the Skywalker legacy, and it was just trash, like dumpster fire, garbage bin trash. So Kathleen Kennedy, the rumors are that she's being asked to step down, she's not resigning. They're firing her, but they're not necessarily going to say that they're firing her. You know, they're gonna like, oh, she resigned, she wants to move on to do some other things. You know, the all of the corporate speak. And the rumors are that she's going to either make her own female-centered, female-dominated, or female-only, I don't know what it is really, female production company, or work with J.J. Abrams' bad robot production company. That's what the rumors are. None of this has been corroborated. There's also rumor that George Lucas is coming back on to head Lucasfilm. Now, once again, rumors. This is grain of salt stuff, but I feel like this is maybe the most rumor. It's plausible to me that Kathleen Kennedy's out. Disney decided to halt Lucasfilm production, wait for a while, even before COVID. They wanted to wait a while before they put out anything. They're trying to regroup and figure out what the heck they're going to do. They, over 3 films, over a bunch of years, they lost almost all of the goodwill. And how I know that they lost almost all of the goodwill is because the toy sales for the new trilogy are super down in the basement. Star Wars made a whole lot of revenue for George Lucas because of the merchandising. Similar to an IP like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is still a thing and continues to be a thing because the merchandising is crazy. Part of why Sony doesn't want to let go of Spider-Man, even though they had made those trash movies, Amazing Spider-Man and so on, it didn't mess up the IP. And they could tell because the television shows, the cartoons were still selling, and the merchandise is a cash cow. They make millions upon millions upon millions in merchandise. They make more in merchandising than they do on the revenues from the films. It costs them money to make these films, and they make more over the long term off of the merchandise. Same thing with Star Wars. The idea is that you're building this universe, you're getting fans engaged, you're from the adult all the way down to the child, and the child, with, you know, their hunger for toys and playthings and stimulation, often drives the revenue after the fact of the films. So Star Wars toys are collectibles. They've been generating revenue for years upon years upon years after Return of the Jedi. So this is even before the prequel trilogy, and that whole gap of time. They made those toys made George Lucas so much money. It's crazy. It's nuts. And so for this new trilogy, revenue for merchandise went crazy low. Toys R Us, when Toys R Us was still around, had surpluses of Star Wars gear, Star Wars merch that did not get sold because kids are not buying Star Wars, because kids can't get into Star Wars. Because Kathleen Kennedy wanted to make a nostalgia bait first film, and then let Rian Johnson do whatever he wanted to do with what J.J. Abrams set up. And Rian Johnson is not a J.J. Abrams. He's not a James Cameron. You know? He's going to look at things from a more cynical, more kind of gritty, more kind of realistic kind of sense, and he's not going to care about the fan base. He really didn't care. He just came in and wanted to do what he thought was cool, what he thought was a cool film, and not necessarily a tentpole movie. And so just disconnections everywhere from the core audience of what this is supposed to be for. And it's funny because a lot of people gave that a lot of the people who spoke out against those critiquing The Last Jedi used the argument that, oh, this is just, why are we even trying to go that deep? Because this is just, space cowboys for kids and things. The kids were not buying Star Wars, which is crazy. They were not buying Star Wars for the first time ever. Prequel trilogy, they were buying the mess out of that. Orig-trig, they were buying the mess out of that. Different eras of children made George Lucas and Lucasfilm rich. And LucasArts rich, because you had all the video games. So it's plausible to me that Kathleen Kennedy's out. To me, it's a no-brainer. After The Rise of Skywalker, Kathleen Kennedy, you're gone. And so now some of the sort of speculation is that George Lucas is going to come in and be head of Lucasfilm with Kathleen Kennedy gone. Jon Favreau is going to come in and do sort of the day-to-day of the filming of these films. So George Lucas is just the overarching guy. And then someone else, like a Kevin Feige, is going to come in and deal with Star Wars, because he did announce that he's supposed to be working on some Star Wars stuff with Disney and with Lucasfilm. So we're going to see how that pans out, because I think it might be kind of cool. I don't know if he's going to be out of his depth, but if he brings the same kind of tenacity and research that he brought with the Marvel films, with all of his experience on how to do it wrong, watching Fox do it wrong and watching Sony do it wrong, and actually being the guy in the room that nobody's listening to, because that existed. That was a little fun fact. I don't know if I brought it up on this podcast before, but a cool fun fact that Hugh Jackman brought up, because it was the 20th anniversary this year of X-Men, the films, the Bryan Singer films, the first one, and he was talking about how Kevin Feige, how Bryan Singer wanted to sort of not make X-Men 1 comic booky. He thought it was too campy. He didn't want it to be too childish, so he banned all comic books from the set. And Hugh Jackman was recalling, like, I need to know who Wolverine is. I want to play this character with respect to what to what has come before, to what this character is and what the proper characterization of Wolverine is supposed to be. So Kevin Feige used to sneak comic books into Hugh Jackman's trailer so Hugh Jackman can study Wolverine. Crazy. And Kevin Feige has gone on record saying he was the guy there in the room. Of course, he's not one of the big producers. He's not the big writer. He's not one of the big shots at this time. This is 20 years ago. This is young Kevin Feige. He was in the room with the meetings while they're filming with Bryan Singer, the writers, and so on, trying to figure out how to do workarounds for certain parts of this script and trying to do rewrites and trying to figure it out as they're going. And Kevin Feige said he would just tell them, do what's in the comic books. That we have decades of stories, decades of examples of how to execute the stories that we're trying to tell right here. This should be easy. Just do what's in the comic. You wouldn't have to try to solve all these extra problems that you have, that you created, if you just did what was in the comics. And Kevin Feige said they would not listen to him. They would shoot him off. They would, get out of here, So I think if Kevin Feige brings the tenacity that he exhibits with Marvel and the Marvel IP, I think he would be a breath of fresh air with the Star Wars IP. I hope that he's not the one that ends up taking over Lucasfilm. I hope that the Kathleen Kennedy rumors pan out to be true, but the George Lucas coming in pan out to be false, and they end up bringing in Kevin Feige. I would be okay with them bumping up Jon Favreau. I think at this point, Jon Favreau deserves to be the head of a film studio or something. He's been around. He's proved himself as a director. He has a good eye. He's responsible for Iron Man. That's what I think. He's working on he's working on the Disney Plus series for Lucasfilm, and they're doing a great job. And so I think that would be cool. That would be very cool. Another really funny rumor about it was that one of George Lucas's conditions on coming back was that Kathleen Kennedy had to be gone. Another one was that he would get to do his trilogy that he had planned, which they borrowed some elements from for The Force Awakens. So super rumor mill. I'm kind of excited. The rumors that when at Star Wars Celebration that they're going to announce all of this, that Kathleen Kennedy's going to be gone, and they're going to announce who the person is that's taking over. I don't necessarily know that I want it to be George Lucas. He's just kind of old. I would want him to be in sort of like an advisory role. Like, let him be part of the decision making, part of the storytelling, part of the plot weaving. Let him be there for that. But in terms of directing or like solely writing, I don't think we need George Lucas anymore. I mean, the guy's filthy rich. He doesn't have to be a thing. I know he's watching his baby crumble and die that he cultivated for years and years and years and kept alive. But yeah, so rumor mills, Star Wars fans, I really hope that at the very least Kathleen Kennedy is gone, because that was horrible leadership. Horrible. She could not right the ship. And in the midst of all the Last Jedi controversy and dividing the fans, they were smug about it. To her, like, we stand by our director, this is what it is, this is the way we want to go, and so on and so forth. Like, we're the ones that have to sit down in the movie theaters and watch these movies. We're the ones that buy the merch. We're the ones that engage in the video games. We're the ones that are the community. We are the movement that loves Star Wars. So why would you not? You don't necessarily have to do everything that we want you to do, but why would you, at minimum, disrespect everything that came before? Disrespect our intelligence by not creating an overarching outline for what the trilogy is going to be. You know, it's wildness, but it's about the green. If Kathleen Kennedy is getting paid, it is what it is. She's under contract. She's doing what she feels that she's going to do. They hired her because they believed that she would do what she's going to do. So, you know, if you hire me and you know what I do and you know how I roll, when I roll how I roll, you should not be surprised. You know, so I get it. You know, I get it. So moving on, some New York news. MTA is strapped for cash. What is new, right? What is new? That's always been the excuse, and it's always been the case. They'll do huge construction projects that are supposed to last for 7 years that end up going on for 15. Like, it's wild. It gets crazy. MTA is talking about fare hikes, and they're cutting train lines. They're cutting transit. They're cutting it off. So think like service cutoffs at certain points in time. Think about surge pricing at certain points in time. Surge pricing during rush hour for MTA to ride the train and trains and ride the buses, which is wild. But I get it because COVID. Even though we're in phase 4, we are New York City, or I should say the MTA. No. New York City is going to be feeling the repercussions of the lockdown that we've had for the past few months for a while. Like, we're not going to get right for a minute. MTA lost a lot of money operating the system, the transit system, while we were in lockdown. Lots of money. Oodles of money. At this point, they're losing like $2 million a week or something like that, $2 million every few days of just operating the transit system, just running it. That's what they're losing. They're bleeding money. They need the government. They're about to run out of the government funds that they were given. They may not last the rest of the year unless the government foots them a few $1 billion, which is wild. But it makes sense. It's a consequence of being locked down. 100%. Now, it's sort of a double-edged sword because you're like, if you're going to hike up fares, which fares to me are already high, you're going to hike up fares, then people are going to stop taking public transit. Like, you're going to see a decline in people taking it, at least theoretically. So you're not even really going to make your money back as you would want to, because people are not going to be taking the train. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I haven't taken the train since before the lockdown. I was out filming and on set and things, and I was taking trains. But when those lockdowns hit, nope. No. I'm not taking that train. COVID was hitting us hard. Nope. No public transportation for me. Even though they were talking about sanitizing the train cars. Nah, fam. That ain't me, fam. That ain't me. But yeah, so MTA is it's just getting rough. A lot of industries are strapped for cash. A lot of people don't have jobs. A lot of people can't do their jobs. Things are still opening up, even though it's phase 4 and things should already be open. Companies are still weary, to really open up all the way. Certain sectors of industries are still sort of figuring out how they're going to do it. The execution of that industry has to begin to change and mold, just in the way that September 11th changed New York City and New York City procedures, changed it altered the psyche of the New Yorker. So too has COVID-19. So we're going to keep seeing the repercussions of this for a long time. It's definitely going to be affecting New York and how New York does things and how New Yorkers do things for a long time. Yeah. So now let's shift over. I'm going to talk about a little something that I was thinking about during this, or in light of the lockdowns that we had and how we're opening up in phases, and so many people have lost so much or are in the position at this point to lose a lot. I mean, we've got rental assistance, we've got certain organizations wanting to help out, the city wanting to help out, and so on. But there are so many people who are right now in debt and in a deficit, haven't paid their rents. Evictions were paused, but when they come unpaused, there are a lot of New Yorkers who are going to be in the hole 3 months, 4 months, and will be asked and not asked, it will be demanded of them all 4 of those months in one shot. A lot of people who lost things, a lot of people who started businesses, COVID hit, business gone. Business loans that they had to take that they can't even pay back, that they can't even start payments on, because they sunk the money into mortgaging wherever they were at, renting wherever they were at, and now they can't rent anymore. So it's a thing. People who got laid off, companies who had to drop 90-something% of their staff, big companies had to do that. Big companies. So it got me thinking about success and how we measure success in our lives, and how there are benchmarks, the more popularly understood benchmarks in each industry of what success looks like in general, like popularly, what is popularly considered success. So I can speak for the music industry. If you've got your album out there, the big benchmarks, going gold, going platinum, you want to sell 1 million copies of your single and so on, and that's success. Or you want to get 1 million plus downloads or something, and that's success. But as I began to ponder success and sort of trying to be healthy, trying to maintain emotional and mental health and maintain your emotional and mental well-being while striving for your goals, while pushing through to get to the benchmarks that you want to get to, I began to realize that success should be something that is subjective. Our industries might want us to think that success is subjective. I mean objective, where this certain thing is the thing that you should be striving for. This certain thing is the thing that you should be going for. You should be here at this point in time and at this age and so on and so forth. You should be there. It's all around us. You know, you should have gone through this, or you should have gone through college by this age. And if you're past 30 something and you haven't done this thing, then you're behind, and so on and so forth. I see that as not healthy. As I'm listening to successful individuals, it's not a healthy thing. You should have a hustle gene. You should be hustling. You should be striving to get to your goals, but I stress they should be your goals. Forget about what the benchmarks are, what pop culture is telling you, or what society is telling you about what is success. You need to sit down, but to borrow from Cat Williams, way back Pimp Chronicles, you need to sit down and get in line with your star player. Get in line with your star player. Understand what you want out of your life. Understand what is success for you, and strive with that mindset. Because it puts you in a place to be realistic. So when you understand who you are, where you want to go, you understand where you've been and how where you've been has affected you, and what you need to do to work on those effects on you in order to become the person that you need to be as the most successful version of yourself. It's just healthy. It's just healthy. You're not relying on what everyone else is saying to, not just what everyone else is saying, but the benchmarks, the accolades that everyone is saying that you need to be taken seriously. You're not allowing that to dictate what success is for you and what your worth is within your own industry, within your own field. You're looking at what you want for your life, what you need for your life in order to be happy, in order to be content, and you're going after that. If to some people what your goal is and what can make you happy and make you content is something that they see as lesser, let them think that. Because what makes you happy and what makes you content may not be the thing that makes them happy and makes them content. You feel me? So instead, and if you're going to err on the side of making sure that you are healthy, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, healthy. That your self-worth is not affected by these benchmarks or lack thereof achieving it. That you are who you are, and no one else is who you are, and no one else can be who you are. So when you hit your field and you do what you need to do for you, it puts you in the place to see reality. Puts you in the place to not necessarily trump up certain failings, overemphasize certain failings. You know, we're all going to fail. In failure, we learn. They're learning moments. It helps you to not dwell on failure. Helps you to not necessarily overly question or be anxious about, was it this, was it that, was it here, was it there? Because you know you're going to make mistakes along the way. You know that, if you lose this job, it doesn't mean you're less of a person. If you don't get those 10,000 subscriptions, you're not less of a person. If you don't go platinum, you're not less of a person. If you don't get that promotion, you're not less of a person. You're not. You turn around, pick yourself up, and you keep striving for what is it that is success for you. I learned recently, I watched this Breakfast Club interview with Ryan Leslie. I think it happened a year ago. I'm only seeing it now. And Ryan Leslie, I very much so follow Ryan Leslie and his career and take a lot of examples from how he moved. He made certain mistakes, made certain missteps in his career, as we all do. But he definitely emphasizes that where we are in the current state in our lives, wherever you are under the sound of my voice, that is the aggregate of your decisions that you made for your life at this moment. Certain things, of course, during your life were out of your control, of course. But where you are is the result of your decision making. And he emphasizes that where he is now in his career is deliberate. And he made the choice. A lot of people, they were talking a lot about how it seems like he fell off of music. He hasn't put out an album. He's not super in music like that. And people were like, he disappeared. And they were referencing this one personality on Instagram. I forget his name. But he was, talking about Ryan Leslie being blackballed, blacklisted, and so all these other things affecting him and so on. Which Ryan Leslie said, no, that's not really what the case was at all, or what the case is. I don't feel blacklisted or blackballed or anything. And he went on to say, his place in his life is deliberate. Where he is now, he wanted to put himself. And with everything that he went through, it caused him to have to sit down and think, because he went through this. His laptop got stolen. He went through this whole legal battle trying to get it back. He had management issues with his tour. It was a whole thing. It didn't crash and burn, but it was just a whole thing. And in that, he said he started to ponder what success was for him. What did it mean for him? Was it trying to go platinum? Was it XYZ thing? And he said when he sat down and started taking stock, once again, Cat Williams, gang, he sat down with his star player. He realized that those things were not the things that he measured as success. And he altered his whole position regarding what his career is. And now you don't see him all over the place and names everywhere. I know he did a few summits and things. You don't see his name everywhere like he was when he was pushing his albums. But he's making bank. He went into numbers and everything on Hot 97. It was wild on the breakfast. No, not Hot 97. Yeah. Hot 97? Am I bugging? No, that's Ebro. He went in with the Breakfast Club with numbers and everything, and how he gets to keep all of his revenue, and how he found out how to, or a way to get into and break into and even create a certain industry and platform to market and develop his career without the use of by and large, without the use of social media, by and large, without the use of the record label system and the music industry system, and how it's traditionally been done. But he could not spend that time and do that and work towards that if he had not gone through what he went through, and it had not caused him to sit down with his star player and understand what success was for him. So if there is anything that you take from what I'm saying, get in touch with your star player. Understand what success is for you, what that means for you, and pursue that. So that you're not flailing around, I want to get here, I want to get there, and I want to do this, and I want to do the highest heights of that, and I want to do it. And you kind of know how to get there, but realistically, there's certain things that may be limiting you. Certain things that are outside of your control that would cause you to not quite reach the mark that you might want to reach, because other people are saying that you should reach that. Like, you want that for yourself. Oh, that's nice, going platinum. Yeah, I want that. Not understanding everything that might go into it. That's negative. So understanding all of that comes with sitting down and getting in tune with your star player. Understanding what you need out of your life. Understanding what you want out of your life. Understanding what you need out of your life. Understanding what makes you happy and what makes you content. You can be happy, but content is satisfied. What will satisfy you? Happiness is fleeting. You can tell a good joke and I could be made happy. I can get happy. But then the joke is over and I'm not happy anymore. You want to be content. You want to understand what makes you happy and you want to know what that contentment is, what that place of contentment is. So look for that. Look for what success means to you and pursue it, regardless of what the haters are going to say, regardless of, who you thought were friends that are actually haters are going to say. Because there are a lot of those. There are a lot of, especially when you're doing something new, like it seems like it's out of character for them. Like you're blazing a trail that they're too scared to blaze, or your parents were too scared to blaze, or their families were too scared to blaze. So they propagandized your friend into understanding that it's horrible to do XYZ, or like you should not do that and you should conform to this other system. Soldier on. Soldier on. That's normal. You're not alone. You wouldn't be going through it alone. You're not the only person that's ever had to experience that, and being the first to trailblaze, being the first to go your own way and make it your own way, because your understanding of what's successful for you is different than theirs, or different than your parents, or different than your friends, quote unquote. Soldier forward. Because it will be those same people. When you are successful, when you reach what success means for you, it will be those same people who will look at you and go, oh my gosh, how are you you're so happy, you're so peaceful, they will notice in your spirit the shift, because you aligned yourself with your star player and you're pursuing the thing that means success for you. It automatically changes things up inside of you when you're aligned in that way. You're going to see all those haters some of them are still going to hate, and they're going to follow you. They're going to follow you so that they can hate, but they're still following you. So they're fans. They're actually fans. They're just salty that they are not doing what you're doing, or they don't have the balls to do what to blaze the trail that you're blazing. So soldier on. Do what you got to do for you. It's when I say it like that, a lot of people get, oh my gosh, don't be selfish. I'm not saying don't be a caring person. I'm not saying don't be a humble individual and understand what humility is. I'm not saying to operate from a place of pride or ego that you can't learn from other people. I'm saying that who is going to love you if you don't love yourself? Who is going to be there for you if you're not there for you? You need to be there for you. That's what getting in touch with getting in line with your star player and having that conversation and understanding yourself and understanding where you want to be is that care, is that love. If you don't respect yourself, who else is going to respect you? If you don't understand that you're talented, who else is going to think that you're talented? Right? So, you've got to do for you. You've got to soldier on. Forget the haters. They're always gonna be there. They're gonna be there sitting there waiting for you to fail. And they're gonna be there and follow you so that they could figure out when is the appropriate time to try to discourage you from doing what you're doing. But they're just fans on the low. That's all. They're just groupies on the low. So go ahead. Soldier on. Make it. Whatever making it is to you, you make it for you. You've got one life to live. You only get one try at this. Do not miss your chance to blow this opportunity. Yeah, it just started flowing. But you've only got one chance at this. You've only got one try at life, at this life. So do it. Grab it by the horns, wrestle it down, and make it tap. You feel me? All right, so my recommendations, this is essentially our time that we've got for this week. My recommendations for this week, Rex. Okay, I think The Legend of Korra is coming next month to Netflix. Avatar fans, The Legend of Korra is pulling up. I think Avatar, The Last Airbender is already on Netflix. They're essentially advertising and gearing up to continue advertising and keeping the Avatar mythology alive in people's in the public conscious and the cultural consciousness. because they're going to be dropping a live action Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think it's going to be next year or 2022. Don't quite remember when they're eyeing release date because COVID pushed stuff back. But they've been cast or trying to cast. And yeah, same dudes that made the same creators and writers and so on for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the cartoon, and Korra, the cartoon, are doing the show, doing the live action show. Same dudes coming back that did all of the choreography, all the kung fu choreography, developed all of the movements for all of the different elements. He's coming back. I forget his name, but he's coming back to work on the live action. So hopefully it's going to be lit. But yeah, Korra's coming. You can watch that. I don't really like Korra. I think I'm going to have a whole other episode talking about Avatar: The Legend of Korra. Oh my gosh, do I have so many hot takes for that. Oh Lord. Korra. Avatar: The Last Airbender, I recommend going seeing it. If you haven't seen it, yes, it's a cartoon. Yes, it's, we're adults. But please go see it. I think you'll like it. I think you'll find it breath of fresh air. You'll see that it's fire. I'm not even gonna give a description because I don't want any of your adult brains to like completely reject it immediately. So I'm not even gonna say it. Just enjoy it. But my rec is Armored Skeptic, YouTube channel. Armored Skeptic, Armored Media. Armored Skeptic has got a little series called History is a Lie. I believe it's 4 parts, right? The first one was the intro, then he did that, then he did the heads. Yeah, 4 parts. He just dropped the last part this week. Go and check it out. It's really cool. He's doing sort of like a survey of conspiracy theories regarding the Sphinx and the pyramids and Tesla and Atlantis and so on. It's super interesting. It's not some Alex Jones craziness. It's called Armored. His channel is called Armored Skeptic for a reason. He's going in, doing research, connecting dots. If y'all like that, if y'all like alternate histories and so on, check it out. It is fire. Like, I really liked it. It's really cool. He's funny, and it's really interesting stuff, like mind blow stuff. Mind blasted. Anyone's mind can be blown. In the way that was a Russell Peters joke. Russell Peters. Shout out to Russell Peters. If y'all don't know who Russell Peters is, y'all need to look it up. Comedian known worldwide, Russell Peters. Check him out too. But Armored Skeptic, you look it up. Armored Skeptic, History is a Lie. Watch it from the first one. Watch them in order. He's got one where it's sort of like an intro, History is a Lie. The next one, he talks about Tesla and his technologies and how that ties in. And then the next one, he talks about the cone heads, the elongated skulls in South America and a bunch of other places. And then the last one you're going to see. It's super fire, super interesting if you like history, if you like revisionist history, if you like alternate histories. Check it out. And he's doing it in jest. It's not a thing where it's an Alex Jones or someone else who's like pirate radio trying to convince you that this is it because this is what they believe, that the frogs. No, it isn't that. This is it's a thought experiment. Like, he sat down, saw a few things that look interesting, and saw people asking certain questions, and decided to dive into these communities and see what information was actually there. See what can be corroborated, what does have the cross references. So check it out. Armored Skeptic, cool little bit of content. I think you're gonna like it, especially for those who are still holding in place. It's a nice little listen. You've got a few hours there of content, so enjoy it. For everybody who's still at home, quarantined, etc., we're gonna make it through this. NYC, we're gonna make it. For those who recovered from COVID, glad that you're still with us. Glad that you could still be a blessing to this earth. For those who died and those who lost people, I'm sorry. Sorry for your loss. Let's continue on for them. New York City's gonna make it through, y'all. All right. Don't be glum. Don't be humdrum. We just came from out of our first little heat wave. I see a whole bunch of lightning happening outside right now. We're getting a lot of rains. We're getting through the summer. All right. Beaches are open. I see the hoops are back in the playgrounds, etc. You know, we've got a lot to live for. We've got a lot to be happy for. A lot to understand, or in a lot of ways, we are fortunate. Cuomo did what he needed to do to get us to where we're at the government level, to keep the cases low, to keep the deaths low as he could. So we're fortunate. All right, New York, thanks for listening. I feel like my tone is as if the podcast is ending, but it is not ending. We're still going to be here next week, so come back. Same bad time, same bad channel. If you want to connect with the Social Millennial Podcast, the Social Millennial Podcast at gmail.com. If you want to send me any questions, etc., you can do it through there. You could do it through Twitter. I've been saying for like 10 podcasts that we're going to get a Twitter. We are on Twitter. It's at Millennial Social. Millennial, I believe, with one N. At Millennial Social. Follow us. There's going to be some social media exclusive content. There's going to be social media exclusive polls, giveaways. I want to know what subjects y'all want us to talk about. I want to know, what matters to y'all. Things that are happening in the news, things that are going down, the big and the small. What matters to y'all, so we could talk about it. So you can hear the hot takes. So you can hear if we agree and we disagree. And hey, if you heard anything on this podcast that you disagree with, sound off. Get to us on Twitter. Get to us on YouTube, the Social Millennial Podcast. Every podcast drops there too. So you can subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Follow the podcast on Spotify. We are all over the place. Radio One, Stitcher, Google. Check us out. Apple. We're on Apple. Reach out to us on any of those platforms. Give us a star rating. Give us a like. Give us a dislike. Subscribe. Give us a comment. Like and comment. I'd love to hear from you. Like to sound off. Know that the community is out there. All right. So have a great week. Enjoy the Rex. Enjoy the advice. Enjoy the news. And I will see y'all next week. Peace.